Today, like I've already mentioned, I'm going to talk about a very specific thing, which is how to actually get more traffic, as you saw by the title, from your existing content, and again, focus primarily on what I'm going to keep saying over again is semantic keyword usage and research. So basically, it's not always, which is what I normally talk about, adding content and the kinds of content you can create, but sometimes it's just about getting more ROI out of the content that you already have on your site and maybe reducing your efforts a little bit to squeeze more out of those pages. So ultimately, you need to start with some kind of a goal, right? I think everybody in here, if you're into SEO, and I'm assuming most of the people in here are, you're always trying to increase your organic traffic. And this whole session is all about organic traffic. So one of the things you're going to want to do is identify and plug holes in your existing content. You're going to try to grab ranking shares from your competitors, right? There's only so much out there, and so if they're on page 1, you need to get to page 1 of Google or Bing or whatever the search engine might be. And you also want to ultimately expand your keyword footprint. And in this presentation, I'm going to basically walk you through how to do all 3 of those things. So the case study that this title references, this How to Get 77% More Traffic, is actually a university that we work with. We have, I don't know, every day it's a little bit different, but I'd say let's say we have an average of about 70 clients. Over the last few years, about 30 or 40 of those clients have been education, mostly universities. And so we've learned a lot about how to work with schools. And one of them we convinced to let us just go back in and do a trial on the semantic keyword research thing. And ultimately, it's the case study that I'm going to show you today. So, and I know some of the dates might seem a little bit old, but does anybody here work for a university? So you understand that it takes some time to get things done. So we started talking to them in 2014. Actually, they've been a client for many years, but in 2014, we started to pitch this idea. We showed them that they had 98 keywords ranking in the top 20 of Google, and this whole thing's going to be focused on Google. In spring of 2015, we talked them into letting us do some semantic keyword improvements on just 25 of their core pages, when we got done with the project, we had ended up adding 187 new keywords, semantic-related keywords, and ultimately increased the length of their content. Not that length is one of the deciding factors for whether you rank or not, but it ended up that we increased the average piece of content by about 33%. A few months later, they implemented our recommendations, and shortly thereafter, the results are that there was 499 total keywords now in the top 20. So 401 brand new keywords showing up in the first 2 pages of Google, which obviously was a tremendous success across these just 25 pages. So basically 4 times as many keywords. So here's a different way of looking at that same data. The blue line is their results in 2014. Blue line is results in 2015. That white vertical line is when they implemented the changes, and you can see the growth in organic took off fairly quickly. Again, just by changing and editing the content of 25 different pages. And also, if you do much SEO, you maybe have heard the whole phrase about, a rising tide lifts all boats, all ships, all whatever. And that's basically what that means, is if you do a good job on chunks of your site, or maybe even just make some holistic changes, which we also did for them, it tends to lift the authority of the site. It tends to lift all of your credibility with Google, which gives you more rankings and more keywords showing. So this is also one of the end results is year over year organic traffic increased by 167% for this particular client. And that's their whole site, not just those 25 pages. So probably this is my best approach here at JR, right? So I don't have much humor in this presentation. This is also your Twitter moment, I suppose. So get your phones out. So anyway, this is really, really true. And I'll wait just one more second as I see phones in the air. So 2 more seconds. 3. Who's got the old iPhones? All right, that's enough. So here's the fact. This is why that previous chart is true. Is 92% of the time when we go to do a search on Google, we do not go past page 1. And you know that, right? Because you might have already used Google, the source of all knowledge, this morning multiple times. And years ago, we would do that. We would do a short search, 2, 3, 4 keywords, maybe not even 4 keywords, and we'd start clicking through to page 2 and page 3 and page 4, because certainly what I'm looking for must be somewhere on the web. Today, we don't do that. I mean, we just talk to our phone, and we just wait till we get the result we want that we can see on our screen, or if we're on our desktop, we'll refine the search, whatever it is. We don't click through, as you can see, to page 2. So you should understand that if you're responsible for your organic traffic and you're really proud of having stuff on page 3 and page 4 of Google, you already know you're not getting any traffic from that. Right? The key is we've got to get this stuff onto page 1 and as high on page 1 as possible. So every year I ask our team to go out. We all end up throughout the course of the year auditing lots of websites, whether they become clients or not. Lots of client sites, prospect sites. We audit a lot of sites. So every year I ask them, well, what are the most common things we see? And I actually have an entire presentation just covering these 7 things that we see most. And actually, I don't have this slide because it came out after I had to send the slides in to Content Marketing World. But SEMrush just did a piece of research that totally backed this up, what our team has found as well, almost identically. But the most common thing we see, and I'm going to walk through each one of these as quickly as I can, but the most common thing we see is unintentional duplicate content. Next is slow page load times. Poor HTML tags, so title tags, meta descriptions, and so on. Poorly optimized images and possibly videos, depending on how you're hosting your videos. Bad backlinks or not enough backlinks, and backlinks are still critically important to showing up high in the search engine results. Thin content, and what I'm going to focus on today is basically this one, lack of semantic keyword, taking advantage of semantic keyword opportunities. And then lastly, which is appeared now in the last couple of years, is not being very mobile friendly. So I'm going to quickly walk through each one of these. So unintentional duplicate content. What that basically means, I'll just give a quick story, I guess. So we're all here, and there's people in the other room watching this presentation on how to increase traffic 77%. If I do what Leslie said I'm supposed to do today, you're going to be so darned excited that maybe you won't even go to another session for the rest of the day. You're going to go back to your hotel rooms or your homes, and you're going to start working on your content, right? So anyway, so you go back to your room, and you start to write a blog post about this session because it was so cool. And so you write the session, and we'll just call it the 77% presentation. So you go back and you write that blog post, and you look it over, you think it's good enough, and it's 11 o'clock at night, and you hit publish, and it goes live. And so what happens generally, if you don't have things set up correctly, and this is just an example, this can happen on product pages. Actually, it's probably most prevalent on product pages. It can happen on all kinds of content. But if your CMS, your content management system, isn't set up correctly, or you haven't taken care of things correctly, you post this, and now the post is out there as yourwebsite.com/blog/77% presentation. And then it's you wrote it, so you're the author, so now it exists as your website.com/blog/your author name /77%. And then you've tagged it for SEO and maybe content, so it's your website.com/blog/whatever the SEO tag /title of the post, right? And so now all of a sudden, there's 5, 6, 7 URLs all pointing back to exactly the same piece of content on your website, right? Because all the categories and so on and so forth. Well, when Google crawls your site, and it could crawl it within an hour, it could crawl it within 24 hours, whatever it might be. It could, if you're CNN, it's going to crawl it within a minute. It finds this post, but it finds it with 7 different URLs. You have basically confused Google. You've told the search engine doesn't know which one you would actually like to show in the search results. And so that's the most common problem we see. And so you don't rank for anything very well. So the way to fix that, and I don't know how many of you in here are SEOs, or would say you're SEOs, or you run the SEO team. Okay, if you're not, if you didn't just raise your hand, you want to go back and the fix is you use canonical tags. It took me 3 years to figure out how to say that, but canonical tags. And that's how you tell Google that this is the single version of the URL I want you to show in the search results. And that's basically how you fix duplicate content. I need to move on. So page speed has become a really huge issue also over the last few years. Maybe you've heard this in other sessions already. But when Google started rolling out some of its updates, which now are years ago, the Panda and Penguin that you might have heard of, and just other updates, and they're constantly rolling out things. When they rolled out Panda, which I forget now, I think it's March of 2011, so 5 years ago, they were kind of forced into doing that because if you remember back 5, 6, 7 years ago, the search results weren't so good. There was lots of spam, and the press was really all over Google. And Google had this update planned to be released, but they ended up rolling it out like 6 months in advance. because they just decided it had to be all about the user, it had to be all about the person doing a search on Google. One of the other things that's become really important is they want to make sure when you do a search on Google and you hit the blue link and you go to somebody's web page, that page loads as quickly as possible. And basically a general rule of thumb now, and again, it's just a rule of thumb, is every page on your site, or every page that you care about, which hopefully is everyone, should load in less than 2 seconds. And that's every single element of the page. So if you're running ads on a page, or you're pulling content from a content server, or you've got large images, file sizes, all of that has to load from the time someone hits and launches your page until it's finished. That's what's being counted. So you want to check page speed, and if you looked at this slide, you can already see that every second it takes for your page to load, you're already losing conversions. Then a page that takes 10 seconds, which we've run across, actually it's amazing. We probably don't even wait anymore 10 seconds for a page to load, right? I just think that's also an interesting thing about us as a society or people. We'll wait for all kinds of things, but damn it, when we click on a blue link, that page better load because I got other things to do. I cannot wait 4 seconds, So anyway, that's the case. Mobile friendly. So anyway, there's a URL where you can go. There's a bunch of places you can go and test page load speeds. Just do a Google search for how to test page load speeds, and there'll be some really good tools that come up, including a tool directly from Google. Mobile friendliness, of course, has become very important. You've heard that throughout, I'm sure, the last couple of days. Google has adjusted its algorithms. It was the first time they ever pre-announced an algorithm change. It was April of last year that they rolled out and basically said you are now going to be penalized as of April 21st, I believe, of 2015 if your site is not mobile friendly. And they built a tool so you can go and test your mobile friendliness. But the other thing, but that was basically if you did a search from a mobile device. The other thing that's happened, though, is we're already starting to see, which is basically what this graph represents, that most of the pages that show up high in Google search results, 1 through 5, 1 through 6, first page, are mobile friendly. So there's been no announcement from Google, and you got to be careful about, drawing conclusions from things like this, but it certainly seems like mobile friendliness has some kind of an impact there. So if you want to test your pages for mobile friendliness, you can go to a Google-provided product. This is a Google page created by Google. They have a bunch of stuff under this, thinkwithgoogle.com. So you enter in your URL just like that. So I entered in vertical measures, and this is the results that came back for us. We got a really nice score, 99 out of 100 for our mobile friendliness. However, our mobile page load speed has definitely room for improvement, and it even says our desktop speed for our home page has room for improvement. And you just basically, this is what you do, is you just work through, and that's literally a screenshot of the result that comes back. And so you can use that tool to test your mobile friendliness as well.